So welcome to our class today. I've placed a block on my mat already, and that might be your indication to do the same. However, it doesn't have to be a block. It could be some sturdy cushion as well. Saying that, we might need a block for arm extensions today. So if you've got a block nearby, maybe we'll begin sitting on that block. However, before I get you to sit down, there's something that popped up this morning in our cards, and I will show the card to you a lot earlier than usual. So the card is coming from the Sigward language of colors deck today, and this is the color turquoise. So if you have anything in that color immediately around you, you might place that near you, just as a little reminder. And for me, I've got a turquoise heart as a stone sitting here on the corner, usually anyway. So I will use that as my reminder for color. I will explain what this color is helping us with in a moment, but first let's come into a comfortable seated position. What is meant by the term Sukhasana, which I've placed myself in, one leg in front of the other and the knees are bent. Sukha is actually meaning easy. Now, some of you, and I've had a comment in class this week, don't think that posture is easy. And I would agree. Hip issues, knee problems, back up problems. There's multiple reasons why this shape might not be for you. And in that case, make your seat easy, whatever that means for you. And as long as you can lift up through your spine and relax your arms and hands, you'll be fine. So once you've done that, let's drop down towards the sitting bones. And maybe just if you have found a turquoise item, maybe taking that down in front of you as you sit or towards the front side of the mat. Before you lower your gaze towards the item. So focusing on the color turquoise is here to awaken your empathy. So it says here, turquoise inspires us to use communication with feelings and builds confidence in your abilities, connecting you with your intuition and awakens your empathy. So there's much more than that, and intuition plays a great role in our practice as well. Turquoise makes ancient wisdom available and can provide a sense of connection to your inner mastery. So holding or placing something turquoise near you is there to help awaken your empathy for others. But we'll focus on the other things as well, such as our intuition. You might keep your gaze at the turquoise item for a little bit longer, or close your eyes. And take your next breath down into your belly and let your belly really expand. Then let your belly lightly contract inwards as you breathe out. So very simple, in breath, belly comes out, out breath, belly comes in. Now, while basically we will continue like this, and this is your gentle option if the pranayama or breath work is not suiting you. So the breath that I'm suggesting is Bastrika. And for that, it would be a rapid out breath where you pull your belly inwards. So that could look a little bit like that. You then kind of forget about the in-breath. The out-breath becomes the most important part and the belly is quickly pulling in. You can practice that slowly and you can practice that really fast. The technique itself is mainly practiced fast, but if that makes you feel awkward, keep it slower. There's also potential arm movement you might like to make. It would be a lift of both of your arms, of course, although I'm lifting only one. You would spread your hands out as you inhale. And then while you pull your belly in, you make a fist and pull both arms down and in by your sides. Your hands, or the palms of your hands, are staying facing forward. So basically, if you wanted to go fast, find your pace and allow a few rounds of your breath. I will continue without my arms here. Arms directly up and back down if you're still working with your arms. Like shooting them up, remember the in-breath is not important. And last out-breath and relax. Relax your arms down, maybe your eyes down, and breathe normally in and out of the noise. Now let your hands reach gently behind you, touching your fingertips, all of them to the ground, as you might even lean towards your fingertips. Then squeeze your shoulder blades together and begin to lift your sternum. If you prefer your gaze forward, keep it like that. Or you might move your chin forward and then carefully guide the whole head back. Holding within that back bend for at least 2 breaths. And then rounding from the lower back until you're back in your seated pose. Leaving your fingertips behind you, now stepping your feet out in front. Place them at about hip distance, but keep them a little bit further away from you. You could keep on your fingertips and repeat the squeeze of shoulder blades and what else we did, or you can land here on your fists as well, pointing your thumbs forward and then squeezing your bottom up for a tabletop. What to do with your head is the same options. Keep it looking forward or move your chin forward and then guiding your head back. Squeeze your hips up, one more breath. And then very gently and carefully landing back on your support. As you're landing, you've got one leg in front usually. Change that completely to the other. Now, looking at the leg in front, we will turn towards that leg. So don't worry about copying me, and place one hand directly behind your bottom. The other hand can be somewhere in front. This is our twist. Let your shoulders soften down. And you might, instead of hands somewhere in front, take your hand a lot further. Place that to the opposite leg. Taking a few breaths here. Then taking the hand from the front and bringing that back to your side. Continuing to turn as you place the other hand fingertips behind and start a twist with one hand in front. You could then make a similar choice and place the hand to the outside of the opposite leg, turning into the position. A few breaths here, keeping your spine nice and long. As we slowly release that, head comes forward, the arms are relaxing, the fingertips might be placed again down by your sides. Now we've truly reached the season of winter here. And although that might not be where you are practicing, you might still benefit from bringing in some peace and quiet. The finger that's associated with that idea is the little finger. So what I'd ask you to do now is hook your little fingers up. You can do that in front of you. And then raise your arms up over your head. Elbows are bent here. And starting to pull just with one finger. And that might take you into a little side bend here. Lifting up on your in-breath and then pulling down with the other finger. A breath in to come to the center and then just turning your fingers around so the hook feels different. And repeating as you pull down with one hand. Pulling up with your other pinky finger and then down with the very same. Lifting yourself back up, releasing the hook of those fingers and bringing your fingertips back down by your side. If you are still wearing little socks on your feet, you might take those off now as we begin with our standing practice. So please place your block, if you're using one, close towards the front side of your mat. So you've got it in reach. And then we will find our way to the front side of the mat as well, into mountain pose or into Tadasana. I will stay facing forward here for your convenience. So placing the feet down at about hip distance apart. Outer edges of the feet are rather parallel, but you could find your position easier potentially by rocking for a moment over the feet. As we are so vastly different, although we prefer to align the feet here, maybe one needs a little bit different than the other. So grounding yourself then down into your feet and placing your hands directly upon the hips. I would ask you to just shift your weight to your left foot and extend your right toes back on the mat for as far as they can go. Then place your big toe a little bit further out to the side and ground the foot into the floor, bending the front knee. So usually we might have a quite solid warrior one stance, which this will be. The front knee is directly aligned over the ankle joint. If your stance needs to be wider, please do adjust that. We're pulling the feet in a little bit as we usually do, and you might bring the hands to touch here at heart center. From this position, standing upright and tall, you might also take a breath in and reach your arms up over the head. While you might leave your palms touching if that's right for your shoulders, or you could separate the hands, let the shoulders relax into the shoulder sockets and leave your palms facing. I would still encourage you to spread out your hands or at least reach your fingers up. So there's different variations for the energy, quite close fingers here, arms reaching up, or the fingers can be wide. See how that impacts your energy and hold it the way that suits you in this very moment. If you then decide to look upwards, it could be just a rolling of your eye gaze and the neck stays unchanged. Or it could be a literal lift of the gaze, where there's a bit of length coming through the side and the front of the neck. Let's take a breath in and push the back heel away from the ground and reach a little bit further up as you might straighten your legs. With the out breath, then bring the hands into the heart and ground your heel, bending your front knee again. Let's repeat that. Push the heel off the ground, straighten your legs, Maybe both arms are reaching up. On your out breath, ground the heel, bend the front knee, pull feet in, hands to heart. Go for one more round. Breath in, the back heel pushing off the floor, extending the body. And the breath out with the warrior with hearts. As you push your back heel away from the mat again, shifting the weight to the front foot. And just as we stepped into the posture, will we step out? Complete control, releasing the hands, returning back into mountain pose. When you think of it or reflect on this, there was just one posture. Notice the impact of this shape, maybe the movement we've created. Then place your hands back onto the pelvis. Shift your weight lightly to your right foot. And again, extend your left leg back so the toes, a big toe touches the floor. Then take the big toe a little bit further out to the side before you land on that foot and bend into your front knee. See if your pelvis is unchanged, facing forward here. And if it is, otherwise, please adjust your stance. Pull the feet in towards each other lightly. Hands might come to touch at heart center. This upright position where we feel grounded, connected towards the floor and yet strong. An option there to extend both arms up over the head, and you may start with the palms touching there, or you could immediately even separate your hands, leaving the palms of your hands facing whatever your choice might be. And if your hands have separated in particular, let your shoulders be relaxed and easy. Your option to keep the gaze forward and just roll the eye gaze up, or to lift your whole gaze up using the head and the neck. Keeping the feet pulling in so the foundation remains grounded and solid. Beautiful. Noticing again what your fingers are doing. Are they active? Are they relaxed? And let's take an inhale to push the back heel away from the ground. Straighten the legs, arms actively reaching upwards. And as you breathe out, bring the hands back to the hard ground, your back foot, and bend the front knee while you pull the feet lightly in. Inhaling, extending, lifting the heel off the ground. Exhaling, landing back, warrior one with hands at heart. Last round here, breath in to push off the floor, extend through the legs. And breath out, hands back to the heart and landing in the position. To remove yourselves from the posture, starting to lean the body forward, heel comes off the ground, just the big toe that's left, stepping the foot next to the other and releasing your arms into mountain pose. You might choose again to close your eyes or steady your gaze somewhere, feeling the effects of the posture. So as you can tell, we are going quite slowly and we're grounding much more into the floor today. I will now change my position, but you can stay exactly where you are. Placing your hands back upon your hips. This time I'd ask you to shift the weight also to your left foot, lifting the right heel or the right knee. Extending the leg far back down the mat, then landing the heel of this foot. As you take a look at your feet, the back foot is in a light angle here, so the hip is slightly turning forward. This is not the only option. There is a squaring off of the foot as an option if that sits better around your pelvis. In the front here, we've got the knee bending over the ankle joint. Now I'd love you to come back to that stance, but for now, breathe in, lift both of your arms, extending both of your legs. And then with the exhale, bring a bend back into the front knee and let your arms extend all the way out into your warrior two. I will rest my arm again. Feel free to do the same if any shoulder here is not quite right. In the other sense, let's pull the feet in a little bit as well to build a stronger foundation and lift through the spine. Your gazing point here are the front hand fingertips. Elbow might be a little bit soft as you're gazing there to keep your shoulders easy. I will ask you here to maintain the strength in your legs. And when you look forward at this point in time, the arch of the front foot is quite strong and your knee is in line with your toes for that reason. Turning the palms of the hands to face upward and relaxing the shoulders. An in-breath as you might exalt the warrior pose. Now I've just as almost automatically lifted my gaze. Maybe what we all forgot if we did that together is a little tuck in of the chin to assist. Oftentimes, otherwise the head might fall backwards and would really want to lift everything upwards. If you've just leaned weight into the backhand, remove that. Work with the length in the left side of your body. Breathing in as you bend your back knee, let your upper arm circle in. Place your hands upon your thighs and turn your front foot to face to the long side of the mat. Keeping a little bend in your knees, bring the hands back onto the hips or the waist. Lift your heart on the in-breath. Keep the bend in the knees and a breath out. You can slide your hands down the legs if that's comfortable or reach directly towards the floor. Now, I will use a block today here in front of me. I will even use that block in its full height. So you might experiment with something quite similar here. What I'd ask you to get to is actually the half lift. So where your knees might be out of the lock or even bent, and the spine here is long. From this position, keeping your right hand on the block that might sit in the middle, and bring the left hand to the side of the waist. Stand firmly on your feet and start to roll your left shoulder back. And there's an option here to turn the gaze to the left as well. If this is enough for you, please stay here. Some might feel it's appropriate to extend the left arm. Feels quite heavy for me today, so bring it back into the side. No reason why you can't change your posture once you've explored a variation. Keep grounding through both of your feet. Notice if you're falling inwards or if there's more sensations on one side than the other, and see if you can balance that in your stance. Breath in. And with the next out breath, swinging your hand down, place it to the block, find the length in the spine again. Placing the left hand onto the block only. Bring the right hand to the side of the waist. And again, start to turn. Keep your stance into the mat as you're turning the shoulder open. Maybe your gaze is turning. And an option to extend that right arm up to the ceiling. Get into a similar feeling within the posture. The feeling of where am I standing, where are the sensations. And instead of indulging in sensations on one side, use the other foot to balance that out. One more breath as you inhale. With the exhale, bring the other hand back onto the block. Maintain the length here in the spine. Bend both of your knees. Turn your left foot out to the front. You can keep the block there by the side of the mat. Place your hand upon the thigh, lift your right heel, and then step the foot forward as we find a mountain pose back at the front side of the mat. You might turn the palms of your hands forward. And again, although we've been standing mainly on both feet, the sensations could be very different. Bringing your hands upon the hips or the side of the waist again, shifting your weight to your right foot. You might lift your heel or even the knee off the ground. And then take this foot far back down the mat and land the heel once you did. If you're looking back at your foot, you might again have your heel further out. There's two options where the foot is either squared or a little bit turned inwards. Taking a look forward, knees over your ankle joint. Pulling those feet in with the hips slightly opening to the side. And then we'll take a breath as we remember to extend both legs, reach both arms up. And then a bend again into the front knee as we exhale to Warrior Two. So while I will always rest one arm, please do use both if they're available to you. And maybe taking another little look with mind or eyes down to the front foot. Is the arch active? Is the knee aligned here? Let your shoulders be easy and your drishti be over the front hand fingertips. As we pull the feet lightly inwards, we've got a good stance here, quite solid. While you might keep your gaze forward, turn the palms of the hands to face upward. And as you breathe in, turn that into Warrior Four, where the right arm is reaching up towards the ceiling or even behind the head. And the other hand gets to rest on the back leg, maintaining the same stance. So oftentimes the moment we're lifting an arm, the front foot gets forgotten. So think about that arch and the knee alignment as a result. Keep your feet pulling in, but also extending the body backwards, trying to keep the hand on the back leg really gentle and soft. From there, bring a bend into your back knee. Let your arm swing down. And once more, let's turn the feet towards the long side of the mat. The hands might rest to the sides. Bring a bend into both of your knees. Take an inhale to lift your heart. And then an out breath as you fold back towards the block. You could keep the block halfway up, all the way up, or not use the block at all as we bow down all the way this time. Your choice, whether you're using any support or you're folding forward as you are. Take a little look that the outer edges of the feet are parallel or you've got a slight pitch and toe stance. There's no obligation, so you could use the block if that's more comfortable for you. And if there's any issues of pressure in the head, you might use the block to keep your head lightly lifted. If you are folding forward all the way, place your hands underneath the shoulders and lift your shoulders lightly upwards. The head can be hanging down now so that you're looking between the legs. The weight here is now shifting forward towards the balls of the feet, so the tailbone becomes high. Allow a few out breaths here to help you deepen the shape. To release from the shape, please soften your knees. Lift back up onto the fingertips. Use your block if the floor is a bit low. Turn your right toes forward. Roll up through the spine and place the hands upon the thigh. Lift the back heel. and stepping your foot towards the front, finding a mountain pose. And I hope you got there more elegantly than myself as we come to stand back at the front side of the mat. Take a deep full breath in and have a little sigh out. As we stand here at the front end of the mat, on your next inhale, reach the arms up. Touch the palms of your hands together, bend your knees lightly, and draw the hands down the midline into a standing forward bend or Uttanasana. On your inhale, the hands may slide up for a half lift. On your out breath now, step your right foot back and bring your knee down to the floor. Allow a little leaning forward into the hip flexors. Then breathe in and relax your upper body. On the out breath, then roll your spine up for a kneeling lunge. You may even choose to lift the arms up. Note yours, hands to the heart, same as in the warrior shape. Lightly leaning forward is fine, but observe the front knee so you're still supported with the knee over your ankle joint. Wherever your hands are, take a breath in, extending. On the out breath now, place your hands down on the inside of your front foot. Tucking the back toes under, lift the knee away from the ground. Shorten the stance a little and ground your heel in line with the other heel. Bring the palms of your hands to touch on the inside of your front leg. And take a breath as the right hand slides up your left arm and then might extend, or you could roll it into the side of the waist for a triangle posture. While your front leg might be straightened here, there's still a micro bend in the front knee, keeping length through the sides of the waist. Both arms might be extended for you. None of them are bearing weight. You're trying to reach out into the sides for this triangle or trikonasana. Bringing a bend into the front knee. Take a breath in, lifting both arms up. An out breath to release the arms, but we will also swivel the feet around so that the right toes are now pointing to the short edge of the mat, and the heel of the other foot comes out. Soften both of your knees. Let your hands come down towards the inside of your front leg and ground through the front of that foot. Then breathe in, the left arm sliding up the right, brushing across the chest, either resting in the side of the waist or extending for trikonasana, the triangle posture. So when you think about your triangle or even look at yourself in the triangle, there's one triangle that is your stance. There's another triangle that is your arm, stance, and waist. And if you draw a few imaginary lines, you will find another triangle in there as well. Keeping the lengths in the sides of your triangle. Inhale, breathing out. And then softening out of your posture as you release your arm down, bend your knees, place the hands to the sides of the front foot, lift your left heel and bring the knee down, untucking the toes. I'm aware that you're likely leaning away from me, but I'm trusting that you understand my words as it's a repeat from the other side. Hips might lightly lean forward, minding the relation of front knee and ankle joint. Take an inhalation and let your upper body relax over your front thigh. Then breathe out and curl up through the spine. You might inhale to lift your arms up for the lunge, or you might choose to keep your hands at heart. As you could allow your hips to lean lightly forward, but again, maybe checking the relation of knee and ankle joints. Keeping yourself upright and tall, take another breath. Then let your hands release towards the sides of your front foot, tucking the back toes under, lift the knee off the ground and step the foot forward. Allowing yourself to hang in this standing forward bend. And a long, slow out breath to uncurl the spine. Lift your shoulders when you come up, roll them down and turn the palms to face forward, returning to Tadasana, mountain pose. Now you might turn yourself to face back to the front if you are facing the back side of this space. Our balance will be reasonably simple, as we might shift the weight towards the left foot, lifting the right heel away from the ground, sufficient, or bringing the right knee up. You might take a hold with your left hand of your right knee. And you might start to turn towards the knee and lift your other arm behind you for a standing twist balance. Your gaze could be out to the side, or you could look to the hand behind your back. Turning your head forward, landing your foot, mountain pose. We will change that again as we shift the weight, the heel lifting of the left leg, maybe the knee coming up. Everything here is optional, as you might bring your right hand to your knee, extend your arm behind you, and even turn your torso to either look to the side or look to the hand behind your back. Turning your gaze forwards and then slowly releasing back to mountain pose. Take a huge breath in, and you might lift your arms with that breath. And then have a big sigh and just fold. Oh. Lowering your body from here into a seated position. Now, I would offer you the block to sit upon if that was yours, or you could roll up the end of your mat or use a folded blanket to sit upon. As a lot of you have practiced with me for a while, you might have figured out what your choice could be here. As you bring both legs out gently in front of you, we will allow the left leg to extend and bring a bend into the right knee. And you might place that right foot to your inner thigh. If it's not quite getting there, that's fine too. If you prefer a little rolled up something underneath your knee that could be beneficial, well, I suggest that you start with your knee bend and your foot flexed, maybe gently drawing that straight side back inwards, so we're facing the leg. Breathe in, breathe out. As you lean your belly upon your thigh, let your arms surrender forward, and you might then even deepen by lowering your head. There are different stages here for this seated forward bend called Jana Shirshasana or head to knee pose. And I'd ask you to always take the variation that feels the best. From this place, it is more or less patience. that guides us towards a deeper forward fold. Checking in with the sensations that you feel, getting used to the sensations that you feel without any judgment. It's just an observational, explorative practice. Allowing yourself another 2 full long out breaths. When you complete it, you may use your hands by your sides, lifting halfway up. You might then walk your hands to the outside of your straight leg and fold for a few more breaths to the outside of the leg instead. You might notice that there's a little bit of pulling sensation in your side. As long as none of that is painful, keep grounding your sitting bones and leaning a little bit out of that shape. You might here breathe in to lift your left arm all the way up, then your right, and then swing your arms around with a long spine, releasing your right hand fingertips behind. And I'm sorry, I've mixed up sides. So windmill to turn towards the bent knee. And you might place the outside of your hand against that knee and twist quite deeply here. It's very similar to the twist in which we began. So support yourself with fingertips down behind, the back of the hand against the outside of the leg. And you might feel that there's a lot more range of movement for the twist now. Inhaling, guiding your head forwards. Exhaling, centering the body and also extending the right leg. Give your legs a little wiggle or even a shake if they feel like movement. And then bending your left knee and placing the foot to the inner thigh if that's available or somewhere lower on this leg. Bring hands down, gently draw the straight leg in, bend the knee or support it with something underneath the bent knee, flexing your foot. The upper body is facing the extended leg as we breathe in. And with the out breath, then starting to lean the belly towards the thighs and then releasing the hands a little forward and maybe lowering the head towards the knee. Let yourself, as you settle into the forward fold on the other side, explore the sensations on this side, fully aware that the sensations as well as what you can and can't do could be very different to the other side. Surrendering to that is, and even enjoying it as you experience it. Leave your out breaths long and relax for a few more breaths into head to knee Janu Shirshasana. When you next breathe in, use your hands to lift halfway out of the shape. And then place the hands to the outside of your extended leg and fold right back in. While this is completely out of alignment, it's still safe to do. And you might feel into the experience on this side. Where is it extending? What is going on? Couple more breaths. And then when you're ready, taking an inhale, the left arm is lifting up. Then the right. And as you extend your arms and extending the spine, we're coming into a twist to the other side. Left hand fingertips go behind, back of the right hand against the bent leg. And allowing yourself to move really deeply into that twist. Next breath in, turn the head forward, and then relax your body forward, extending both legs. Now today, if you've got it available, I would love you to practice legs up the wall pose or Viparita Karani. Well, I've got my wall covered here handy. You might like to move away from your mat to have a wall. If you do have a wall and enjoy a bit of cushioning or elevation of your hips, the block might be useful. Again, a folded blanket is a little bit more comfortable there. If you don't want to practice the legs up the wall, legs up the couch is also a nice variation. While you can't see my couch here fully, it is quite on the lower side. But if I was to use the couch, I would do the same, sit the side of my hip near it, roll onto my back, and then place the bent legs up a little bit higher. If you opt for that variation, it's extremely good for lower back pain. So if that's something that bothers you today, maybe using a couch or a chair. A chair has just the right height for a 90-degree angle. If you want to practice that against the wall, the same here, sit with the hip against the wall, have your elevation item with you if you've got one, roll down onto your back, and then take your feet up the wall. So if you do that and sit with the side of your bottom to the wall, you might almost be touching here. If this feels good, there's no reason to put anything underneath. If you would like to, however, place your soles onto the wall, lift your hips up, and place your block or other item underneath the hips before extending the legs again. And if all of that's very comfortable, you might open your arms, snuggle your shoulder blades and shoulders down, close your eyes or steady your gaze to the ceiling and relax. Relaxing into a downward flow. If you would like to tap back into the winter energy, on each hand, could you touch your thumb to your little fingers? Maybe there's some sensation coming from the loop that you've built with your little finger. And that might also be a great point of attention to focus on. Let's drop into a little time of stillness, time to observe and connect within. You can keep your loop with your little finger and thumb. You can keep your legs just as they are. If you're enjoying this as much as I do, you could just stay here. Or you could open your legs out wide on the wall. That might create some quite intense sensation, and I suggest to even use a little bit of support of your hands if the legs are coming out wide. If you practice that and then you notice, oh, maybe that's not mine at all, don't worry about it. Guide your legs back up against the ceiling, or towards the ceiling rather than against it. Let yourself be restful, no matter your choice. You might then release any mudra you have taken. Help your legs up against the wall again if you widen them out. Slightly bending the knees to place the soles of the feet back onto the wall. If you have something underneath you, then lifting your hips away from that item and carefully lowering your spine back down. If you didn't have anything there, please start bending your knees as well and bring them all the way towards the chest. You could even give them a hug here. If you're feeling okay the way you are, and you've got your mat right behind you, you might even push your feet into the wall and try and slide back. Won't happen here, I'm pretty sure. So I'm instead, and you could follow me, rolling over onto my favorite side. And in that case, I'm staying here at least for 2 breaths. Only to make sure that I'm not getting dizzy sitting up, and then realigning myself for relaxation. You likely won't need the block anymore, but maybe some socks, jumpers, bolsters, cushions, anything alike that might make your practice more supported. So a bolster, for example, I quite like that in longer relaxations in particular, underneath the knees. Just options for you, choosing yours, maybe closing the eyes when you arrive in your reclined position, maybe steadying the gaze to the ceiling instead. Bringing to mind the color turquoise, or even, depending if that is appropriate, resting the turquoise item on your body where it feels right. What lands itself here is the forehead for most, also the heart area, or just on the belly. What we can learn through empathy is really a deeper connection with ourselves. So this is never really about other people, but more so about our own understanding how life works. When you empathize with people, you let go of your judgments and place yourself in other people's shoes. Even the process of letting go of judgment here is quite significant. You allow your spirit to soften and receive an opportunity to support and encourage, as well as inspire others. The color turquoise and your item, a reminder of your ability to help and emphasize with others. You can also choose and maybe contemplate about this at this point. To tell someone that you care about them. When we show others that they matter, it not only warms their heart, but it sends healing to that person. And at the same time, healing to ourselves. You might silently say to yourself, I can place myself in other people's shoes and talk to them from a place of love and compassion. Allow yourself a little bit more time to visualize this color turquoise and the qualities you might have just explored. Letting yourself go into the warmth and comfort of the mat, the body that you're in after the practice. You might choose now to imagine a cold winter's day. Although here we might not have the beauty of snow, we have a different type of beauty here in winter. What I'd like you to choose to focus on, however, is your favorite type of sweater. How that makes you feel cozy. You might envision a winter storm that might only be mild and require a light layer. Or perhaps a storm that's more like a blizzard and you need a few more layers, including your favorite sweater, to keep you warm. Think about the weight of the fabric of your sweater on the shoulders, the way it hangs off your frame or clings tightly to you. Notice how this fabric feels against your skin. Maybe a little scratchy, but infinitely warm. Imagine any texture that reassures you that there is still some calm, still some safety in this world. However your sweater fits and feels, it is more than a functional barrier against the cold. It is a reminder that you have access to good and soothing things, even in the worst of crises and storms. You might reconnect to the turquoise on your body or in your mind. a sense of empathy and how that reflects on you. And you might carry the idea of this color and the idea of warmth and comfort to support that with you into your day as you begin to deepen your breathing. Connect back to gentle movement in the body or stretching. Before you might join me back in a seated position. Where we might bring the palms of our hands to touch at heart center. Sitting back towards our sitting bones to lengthen through the spine. Eye gaze steady or eyes closed. As you might join in with one sound of Om, followed by 3 shantis to nourish the peacefulness. Let's inhale for the Om first. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The peace in our hearts, we lightly bow to extend to each other. Namaste.